He's with us right now. So, Ken, you've got the whole crew today fired up. What do you have for us on Tyler Glasnow? And what, if it happens, do you think it does to the Dodgers rotation?
What I have is just what we reported this morning, which is that Glasnow and Margot could go to the Dodgers. There are discussions about this right now for Ryan Pepio and Johnny DeLuca. What it would do for the Dodgers, Scott, is obviously give them a starter. But at the same time, Pepio was slated to be in the rotation, or is slated to be in the rotation. So they still are going to need more. And again, this deal is not done yet. It is not finalized. I'm not sure it's even in the medical review stage yet. There's some money that's going to have to go back to the Tampa Bay Rays. Wait, I'm screwing this up here. There will be some money in the deal covering the salaries, perhaps, to some extent, of Glasnow and Margot, because there's a lot of money that will be going back to the Dodgers. It sounds odd. I know that Tampa Bay might cover some of the Dodgers' money issues here, but it could be that that's the case because they're getting quality in return if that is the deal, Pepio and DeLuca. So we have to see if this will all play out, if the names will remain the same, how much money might be involved in the deal. But this is a discussion that's taking place, and we'll see how it ultimately pans out.
Now, Ken, where does this put the Dodgers rotation? I know Glasnow will probably be a number 1 or number 2 for them. They got guys that are injured that are coming back on the way. I don't know exactly what their timetable is. For me, I feel like this would be a monster pickup for them, put them basically in the running to be one of the top teams to win it all next year. Would you agree?
I would agree, but they will still need to do more with the rotation. They've got Walker Buehler. They've got others as well, Bobby Miller. But Dustin May's out. Tony Gonsolin's out. Julio Urias is a free agent, not coming back because of the situation he's in. Kershaw conceivably could come back, but he is a free agent, and I've written about the Texas Rangers' interest in him. So they still need starters. They've got Emmett Sheehan, they've got Gavin Stone, some younger guys, but at the same time, this is a group that I am quite certain, even if the Dodgers get Glasnow, that the team will ultimately try to fortify it even more.
So who exactly, because when you get traded to the Rays, people are like, or when the Rays call and say, hey, we would love your pitcher, and you're, as a team, you're like, I'm going to hold him back here. But when you get traded to the Dodgers, they're like, oh, wait. They're really big in picking up value. What position does this put the Rays in? Does this put the Rays in a position of, hey, we're going to build up with Pepio, and this is just what we do because we don't have enough money? Or is this a position that they're improving because Pepio could be a guy that could make 32 starts?
It could be that, Eric. Certainly, though, what is driving this is money. Their payroll, if I'm not mistaken, is up around $120 million. It's never been above $85 million. So they're in a spot here where they just feel they're not comfortable with the money that they will be paying out to players. So what they do is what they always do. They try to trade the expensive guys for younger guys with greater club control, and that is how the Rays roll. They've done a great job of it over the years. If you remember, I don't know, I can go talk about many pitchers they've traded. Chris Archer, Matt Garza. Glasnow is a little bit different situation. 1 year of club control remaining at $25 million. But this is a Rays kind of trade. So to me, it's just the Rays operating as business as usual.
So are the Rays going to have enough? Because the Rays, got off to the hot start last year, kind of faltered, obviously, at the end, got beat by the Rangers in the postseason. Pepio, okay, I don't know anything about the prospect. Pepio showed some flashes last year. Obviously, the Dodgers like him. If you're the Rays, gosh, I almost want to think, I know the money is the issue always with Tampa Bay. Well, wouldn't you like to see, hey, if we get off to a great start with Glasnow, we keep him, and if we don't, then let's trade him at the deadline. I guess there's more of an incentive to trade him now because the Dodgers would get a full year of him. And then my other thing is from the player side of it, if this trade doesn't go through, it sucks for those guys that you named and other people have named in this trade for being traded. How do you combat that as an organization if, I don't know, something falls through and then you go to Tyler Glasnow and you say, oh, no, buddy, we're just kidding. We really, really like you.
First of all, the problem with holding Glasnow, AJ, is that he gets hurt a lot. And if you hold him and he gets hurt and you're waiting till the deadline and he's on the IL, you get nothing. So this is the time to trade him. When he is healthy, when you have a full year of control that you are willing to offer, that is why they will do this. Now, as for the players involved, I understand what you're saying, AJ, and teams are always reluctant to have reports out there about players in trade talks because of exactly that. That what if it falls apart? Their names are out there. In the case of Tyler Glasnow and Manuel Margot, their names have been out there. They won't be shocked to see that they're part of a trade discussion. With the younger players, yes, it's a little bit different, but AJ, my feeling is this is Major League Baseball, and these are players people know about. Pepio and DeLuca, Dodger fans certainly know about them, and part of the business of this game is trade talk, and sometimes things like this happen where names get out there, but at the same time, I don't feel squeamish about this kind of thing at all because these guys are big boys. I think they're comfortable with it. They understand that it's part of the game. It's not great. I get it for them, but to me, they have grown up understanding what media is. They're not new to this.
In a time when we're talking about sources, incredible sources, do you ever feel like teams offer you or offer reporters sources to, or a source, a quote, trade to kind of throw it out there that, hey, you know what? This team could want this. We'll show that this team, that the Dodgers will give us this for Glasnow. Do you ever feel like you get played sometimes, or is that not a thing because you've vetted your sources and you've been in the game for a long time?
That happened to me once, Eric. I've talked about it quite a bit. And it was the Max Scherzer trade that I reported as close to the Padres a couple of years back at the deadline. Ultimately, it went to the Dodgers. It took me almost 2 years to figure this out, but one of the sources played me, and I misinterpreted what the other source said, or I kind of took his response and considered it more of a confirmation when it might not have, or wasn't that. So does it happen frequently? No, it does not happen frequently. What is much more frequent, what is an everyday thing, is guys like me trying to get information and getting shut down. That is the common 99% of the time situation. So is it possible reporters get played? Yes, I know there was a lot of talk about that last week with what happened with the Toronto situation. I don't believe that was the case. I don't believe those reporters were played because I know that I was talking to similar people at the same time and not getting the same answers. So it's a complicated thing, but at the same time, this idea of manipulation and leaks and getting views and all of this, people in baseball like to talk about that. People who are fans like to talk about that. I'm here to tell you, it doesn't happen nearly as much as people think. Sometimes with agents, yes, that's more common, but it's pretty rare when people just offer you things. That's not happening that often.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ken, how often are you on Flight Tracker? Like some of your colleagues were, and following flights around the country to try to dissect who's going where. And do you watch Shark Tank?
I don't watch Shark Tank. And actually, AJ, when that was going on with Flight Tracker, I thought to myself, and I mentioned to a couple of colleagues, I need to figure out how to do that. Because that is actually a valuable tool. It actually is a valuable tool if you can figure out where guys are going. Now, after I reported prior to that there was a meeting between the Blue Jays and Ohtani at the spring training complex in Dunedin, people kind of reverse flight tracked that and found the flight. So I was thinking, wow, that's pretty effective. Now, it's not always going to be accurate, as we saw, but that would be a nice tool to have in my tool chest.
That's cool. I like that. All right, we got some people behind the scenes that can give you a quick tutorial, so we'll let them know. In the meantime, yeah, hey, you want a flight tracker? What's up with Yamamoto now? It sounds like he's doing most of his business out in LA, which then people start to speculate. Well, that's where he wants to be, and he's just bringing other teams in to maybe help, drive up the price. I didn't think the Dodgers would be involved here until we saw the deferrals for Ohtani. But where are we at? What do you think is going to happen for a guy that's being chased by basically every big money team?
I have no idea, Scott. And I wrote about this today, kind of went through the 5 chief contenders the way I see them, what's been reported out there. I can see him going to the Dodgers. I can see him going to the Yankees. I can see him going to the Mets. Giants and Red Sox, perhaps less, but the Giants are in there as they've been in there for top free agents the last 2 off seasons. Ultimately, in my opinion, this comes down to what it came down to with Shohei Ohtani, his personal preference. If he has a place he wants to go, let's say it's the Yankees, the money's going to be there. They'll figure it out. So he's having these meetings with various teams. He's going to get a feel of the different organizations. Perhaps he has, going into these meetings, an idea of where he wants to be. Could be he wants to be in LA with Ohtani. Could be he wants to be with the Yankees. And could be that Steve Cohen is going to outbid everyone, and that will be that. But ultimately, in my opinion, he decides, and then the money comes.
And I know you just started on this, but you don't have any inkling about how much he's looking for at all?
I don't know how much he's looking for, Todd, but what's interesting about this process is that at the start, it sounded like, or it was speculated, that $200 million would be about where he landed, plus the posting fee. Now, because of this intense interest, because he's 25 years old and likely will get a 10-year deal or something really long, it seems like $300 million is certainly not out of the question. And as I wrote this morning, if it's $300 million, the posting fee is almost $50 million. So that's a $350 million investment. That sounds crazy for a guy who's never pitched over here, but because of his age, because of his accomplishments, 3 straight Japanese versions of the Cy Young, 3 straight MVPs in the Pacific League, teams are looking at him. And as Eno Saris wrote in The Athletic today, or yesterday, teams love his pitch repertoire and the quality of his pitches. So it's all there for this guy, and the age is what really drives it more than anything.
You said about the Red Sox most likely being out on Yamamoto.
I didn't say that. I thought I said, Eric, they're more
less
on the
of a
periphery,
chance.
it seems to me. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, less of a chance. Well, there's definitely less of a chance that they're not getting Seth Lugo because he signed with the Royals. How do the Padres of the Manny Machado, the Xander Bogaerts, the in on Aaron Judge Padres, and the Red Sox of John Henry's land of money Red Sox lose out to the Royals for a Seth Lugo?
Obviously, they got outbid, Eric. And Lugo is, I believe, 34 years old, and he is in a position or part of his career, a stage of his career, where he needs the biggest contract possible. This might be the last good one he really signs. So, without knowing for sure, I would imagine that the Red Sox did not value him at 3 years, 45, or below that to some degree. And he ultimately said, you know what? I'll go with the Royals. I'll take the best deal. Now, you ask how the Padres cannot be that active, or at least trading players like Juan Soto right now. They're in a different position. We've talked about this. They're not as financially solid as they were. Not that they're going out of business or anything like that, but they want to bring their payroll down. They, in some ways, have to bring their payroll down. And the guy who was really driving their spending, Peter Seidler, their owner, just passed away. So that explains their position. The Red Sox position is more difficult to explain. And they let go of Chaim Bloom, hired Craig Breslow. The move, obviously, was because they felt Chaim Bloom was not well-equipped, not the guy to take them to the next level. The next level is going to involve spending money. And I imagine they're going to do that this offseason, and it's still relatively early, and plenty of good players are still available. But their fans want to see it already. And with the Giants yesterday and the signing of Lee, that, to some degree, ended a period of frustration for them with striking out on free agents. I don't know that Jung Hoo Lee is going to be a star in the majors, but we'll see. The Red Sox kind of are facing the same thing with their fan base, and it's not unlike the Yankees with their fan base before Soto. These fans in these different cities want to see action, want to see money spent because they know their teams have resources. Well, we'll see how it all plays out.
Ken, the Royals signed Lugo. They have a stadium vote coming up. Is it coincidence that they signed Lugo, they signed Will Smith, who's won 3 World Series in a row on 3 different teams, so the Royals are clearly the World Series favorite right now, and then they're trying to sign Bobby Witt. So are they doing this not only to appease fans, but also to maybe put a little pressure on the local government there to pass that new stadium and show they're willing to spend if they get the right resources?
AJ, my guess is it's probably a little bit of both. They have not been good for several years. They want to be better. They're trying to improve. That's the baseball end of it. But the part you spoke about, trying to show the city and the local government that you're serious about winning with a stadium project kind of in the works. Yes, I'm sure that is part of the logic as well. And we will see that to a greater extent in their talks about an extension with Bobby Witt Jr. They want to get that done. They've talked about that. And Witt Jr. would be kind of the centerpiece of this campaign. Hey, we're here. We're the Royals. We've got Bobby Witt Jr. Let's go with the new ballpark and see what we can do. It all plays into it, right? But at the same time, they need to get better. They need veteran starting pitchers, for goodness sake. They need relievers who are veterans like Will Smith as well. So I don't know that these moves would not have happened without the stadium thing hanging over them, but the stadium part of it certainly is an added motivation.
Ken, let's conclude with San Francisco. So they did sign Lee, and we're going to get into that on our show coming up and break down the player and all of that. But we also got the news from Farhan Zaidi himself running the front office that they basically said yes to the same offer that the Dodgers threw Shohei Ohtani's way. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And, my big thing opinion-wise that I'll get to more later is if I'm San Francisco, you should have an idea that the Dodgers are probably the front runner for many other reasons, competitiveness, where they are, all of that. I would have been on the phone and said, oh, that's the offer you're getting from the Dodgers? Let's add like 35% to that contract. How about that?
Well, it seems like from what Farhan Zaidi said yesterday, he wanted to be a Dodger. He was going to be a Dodger pretty much no matter what. So they could have done that, Scott, certainly. They could have gone to 735, 750, whatever the number might have been. It gets a little silly, obviously. People could say it's a little silly at 700, but with the deferrals, it's much more realistic. The Giants' problem, from everything we've heard and from everything Buster Posey told Andy Baggerly of The Athletic last night, they've got a geography problem, or a city problem, I guess I would say. Players, for whatever reason, have a negative perception of San Francisco right now. Not all players, of course. Jung Hoo Lee didn't have one. But they're running into this. Posey said that. And clearly the city has changed since the pandemic. There is not as much in-office work downtown, and it's kind of made the city a little emptier than it was, perhaps. And people talk about crime and all these things. I don't have statistics. I don't know for sure what's going on there. But that perception exists, as Posey said, fairly or unfairly. And they're battling that right now. They're also battling a team like the Dodgers who, yes, have been more successful. So there's a lot going on. And the teams in California always have the state tax issue as well. California's state tax is among the highest in the country. So when you're a free agent and you're looking maybe at the Giants against, I don't know, pick a team. If you've got reservations and if you're worried about the state tax and the team pursuing you is in a non-state tax state like Texas or Florida, these things come into it. A lot of factors come into a player's mind in free agency. And right now, the Giants are trying to battle that perception because San Francisco remains a great city in so many ways. And Posey talked about that. He talked about having to convince people that this is a great place again. And it's stunning to me that people perceive San Francisco this way, but at the same time, there are reasons for it. And that's part of what has been a problem for the Giants in recent years. At least it seems that way.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Ken, and it needs to be talked about because people will start wondering what's going on. I mean, these are human beings that can make decisions on where they go, and if the money's close, they're going to go elsewhere right now in many cases that we're seeing. So, Ken, appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you maybe later this week.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.